In this session, I'm going to be talking about optimizing your website for engagement and conversions. So if you weren't here before and you haven't met me, my name is Tyler. I'm an evangelist here at Zoho. This presentation is going to focus on two apps in particular. Those two applications are Zoho PageSense and Zoho Sales IQ. PageSense is a conversion rate optimization tool. So this should be an interesting session. It's just cool because there's a lot of cool visuals within PageSense, and then it's cool to do the live demo of Sales IQ where I get you guys involved and we can chat on the website. But basically what we're going to look at is visitor drop-off on a website. Then we're going to talk about the basics of CRO. We'll get into Zoho PageSense. We'll get into the demo. Then we'll get into a demo of Sales IQ. And then finally, we'll take some questions, and we'll have some technical people in the back to help with these questions as well if there's anything that I can't answer. So for visitor drop-off on our website or on our sites or any of our public-facing sites, we as marketers spend so much time and energy and, most importantly, money on getting people to our websites. We spend time iterating and coming up with creative ideas for emails and for social posts. And we spend all this time designing lovely-looking websites and cool emails that we send out to people. But all of this might be for naught, because if we're sending all these people to our website and then none of them are converting, are we wasting our time? And the answer is yes and no, because we are doing a lot of branding. We are reaching out to people with our emails. But if the emails are designed to get people to come to our site and then no one's converting, well, then we have an issue. So there's a statistic out there that shows that 98% of website visitors leave without converting on your website. So that's 1 in 50. 1 in 50 doesn't sound like a great conversion rate in any capacity. Maybe in a sales capacity, that's pretty good. But when we're talking about conversions on a website, we're not talking about making a sale. We're just talking about getting someone to click a CTA button or getting someone to engage in a specific element that we want them to look at. So what we want to do is engage in some conversion rate optimization. We want to spend more time looking at our website, making sure that if we're spending a lot of time getting people to the website, that once we get them there, we can actually get them to engage somehow. So let's look at some of the reasons why visitors don't convert on our website. And once we've identified these, then we can look at some ways that we can fix these things and get people to engage a little bit more. So some of the reasons are that we have too many goals. There's some websites where you get on them and you see so many different CTA buttons, you see so many confusing elements that if you're like a user on that website, you're not sure, how to get to different pages. Maybe you go to a page that's a dead-end page and there's no way to get out of it besides hitting the backspace button. Like that's a really common UI element, like 101 don't do. But poor UX or navigation is another huge reason why visitors don't convert. Very often now, if you go to a website that just looks a little old, a little outdated, you might just pop off of it immediately without even engaging with any of the content on there. So there's a lot of reasons why visitors don't convert, but if we're not using a conversion rate optimization tool, then we don't tangibly know those reasons. We might be able to look at our website and say, hey, I think this element is good, or I think this element needs work. But until you have a tool to actually get reports based on how people are engaging with your site, you won't know for sure. So that's why we want to engage in some CRO. So what CRO is, it's the process of systematically increasing the percentage of visitors who complete a desired action. So what we want to do is decode our visitors' behavior. So we want to have reports that show how people are engaging with our website, like what elements they're clicking, how they're perusing through the site. Once we've decoded their behavior, we can start to take those insights and optimize the path. Once we know how people are engaging, then we can put stuff in the right places so that they engage with us further. This is going to boost conversions. And another big benefit of CRO is that you can start to spot areas of your website that are like broken or maybe not working, or areas just where people are dropping off and not converting with you. So when we're talking about CRO in a Zoho context, we're talking about Zoho PageSense. Zoho PageSense is an all-in-one CRO platform built for marketers by marketers. That sentence was definitely written by a marketer because it sounds very markety-ish. What we're trying to do with PageSense is we're going to boost conversions through data-driven decisions. I mentioned we want to decode visitor behavior. And then once we've decoded visitor behavior, we want to start to optimize our website. And the way that we're going to optimize our website is constantly testing new features and then seeing which tests come out as the more successful test. And the way that we'll do that is with A/B tests, with split URL tests, and I'll show what these are in the product here in a little bit. With PageSense, we're also able to re-engage visitors and personalize content for people who maybe have been on our site before, or maybe people who are coming from a different area and from a different IP address, or people from different demographics. We can split up our website traffic and show them personalized content based on their own qualities. And then really one of the cores of PageSense's capabilities is that we can track conversion paths and identify drop-off points. And this is huge, and I'll talk about an example with like an abandoned cart. We'll talk about an abandoned cart example so that we can contextualize this in a little bit. Now, to contextualize this further, I just want to talk really quick about a customer of ours who uses PageSense. So we'll look at some of the pain points that they were dealing with before they got into PageSense. We'll look at the elements that they used within PageSense to help them optimize their website conversions, and then we're going to get into the product. And this mostly will be a demo-heavy presentation. So Urban Element. Urban Element is a customer of ours. What they do is they manage their customers' online presence. So they have a lot of clients, and they manage their websites, or they create their websites for them. They also manage their social media, and they do a lot of SEO and web design services as well. And what they needed was a tool to get a comprehensive view of all of their clients' visitors' online behavior so that they could make better websites for their clients. So what they utilized was PageSense. They're kind of a perfect use case to start using PageSense. They extensively use heat maps, which we'll take a look at in a sec, A/B tests, and split URL tests to constantly be testing and refining website features. With all of these features, they significantly improved their understanding of their clients' visitors' behavior so that they could personalize landing pages, they could adapt CTAs, and they could generally improve conversion rates. The ROI from this, the benefits in the ROI, is they saw a 35% increase in the conversion rate of their clients' websites, and they saw a 15 to 30% decrease in the drop-off rate. So why don't we hop in here and see what Urban Element. If you're familiar with PageSense, you'll know that this isn't PageSense. This is actually a demo website. So this is a demonstration website for a company called Out of Line Design. This is a fake company. You can see our logo there, OOL at the top left. But I want to take a look at this website because what PageSense allows you to do is take a little snippet of code and put on your website so then you can see how your visitors are engaging. So we're going to look at the elements of this website, and then we'll see what it looks like on the back end in PageSense. So on this example website here, we have all of the different pages. We have this little carousel of different information. As we scroll, we have some graphics, a little product design section. We have a Zoho Bookings. This is actually built with Zoho Bookings. This is how you can have someone book a consultation right from your website that can attach to your booking calendar. That's an aside. That's just kind of another Zoho plug. We have some different services. And as we scroll to the bottom, we have a newsletter form. This was built in Zoho Marketing Automation and is being hosted on this site. That's another shameless plug. One more plug. This entire website was built off of Zoho Sites. That's our full-fledged website builder where you can drag and drop elements. It's akin to Wix or Squarespace or anything like that. Now, the reason I mentioned Zoho Sites, though, is because the question we always get about PageSense is, hey, I want to use Zoho PageSense, but I don't have a site built off Zoho. Can I still use it? And the answer is yes. So if you're using Wix or Squarespace or another landing page builder or another event website builder, as long as you're able to embed a little snippet of code into the back end, which you can do with essentially every single website builder out there, you'll be able to use Zoho PageSense. So you don't need to be on Zoho, on any other Zoho apps besides PageSense to use PageSense. Okay, so we've taken a look at this website. Now we're going to hop into PageSense here. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with PageSense, I'll just give a really quick lay of the land so we know what we're looking at. Like a lot of the Zoho applications, you can either see your modules on the left side or on the top. In this application, you see your modules on the left side of the screen. The modules are ways that we can look through the different information that's in PageSense. We're starting at this little dashboard section here. What this is showing us is the performance of our website in the last 7 days. You can obviously change the duration if you want. This is important because if you're pushing, like let's say you pushed a new website update 2 weeks ago, you wouldn't necessarily want to have your entirety of your website analytics in one spot. Maybe you'd only want to track the last 2 weeks. So you change the duration to see how it's performed in the last 2 weeks. What we're going to start with is how we can analyze our visitors' behavior. So this is something that Urban Element did. When they're looking at their clients' websites, the first thing they need to do is see how people are engaging with their clients' websites. So they can use a landing page for that. Okay, so what the heat map will show you is on your website, you'll have a lot of different elements. I showed the example website we were looking at earlier. And we have all of our pages at the top. And the heat map will show you like a little infrared heat signature on different areas that people are clicking. So you'll see the hotter areas in places where people are clicking a lot. And as you scroll throughout your website, you'll see different places that people are clicking. And this can actually give you a lot of really useful insights that you might not think of off the top of your head. So a heat map is a great way to track your user interaction. So like let's say, for instance, you have an element on your site that you think is really important. Like you have a CTA button on your website. That's super important. And you know that if people just clicked on that element and they'd convert, you get so many more customers if they just clicked. But you're wondering why it's not working very well. Well, if you use the heat map feature, you'll be able to see if the people who are visiting your website are actually clicking on that element or not. And if they're not clicking on that element, you can now start to queue and make some changes. Like maybe the element's too low on the page. Maybe you want to have some other content that's pointing to that element. Maybe you want to have that element be a dedicated page so more people are finding it. These are some simple insights that you can make using the heat map. So the scroll map. A scroll map is relatively similar to a heat map. It's another way to analyze your website behavior. What a scroll map, or your user behavior on your website, what a scroll map does is show how far down people are typically scrolling on your website. So what you'll see is when you go to the scroll map on PageSense, you'll see that 100% of your visitors are seeing the top of your page. And that's because when your page loads up, they have to see that part. That's what automatically comes up. But as you scroll further down the page, you'll see less and less people making it down that far. So again, if you have an element on your website that's super important, but you have low on your page, that'll cue you to maybe put it higher. And another insight you can make with the scroll map is, let's say you have a spot on your website that has a stark contrast. You have like 80% of your visitors looking at a certain point on your website, and then you scroll a little bit down and there's a massive drop off. What that can cue to you is that there may be a little design element that isn't working, or you may have some design that's making users on your website think that that's the end of the page, even if it isn't. So if you end up seeing something like that on your scroll map, you'll know I need to change the design of my website in some way. And later I'll show you how you can test some of these features out. The last thing I'll talk about with analyzing, well, not the last thing, but one of the last things I'll talk about with analyzing your website behavior, or your user behavior on your website, I should say, is the attention map. Now, the attention map will show how long people are actually staying and looking at a certain element on your site. So if you scroll to like an About Me section that you have on your site, that's a big wall of text, you'll be able to see that people are spending 10 seconds on that element. And if it's a really, really long paragraph of text and you see people are spending 10 seconds on it, then you know no one's really reading this. Maybe I should cut this down. Maybe I should make the content more engaging so that people actually do read it. And if you make the content engaging and people still aren't reading it, then you might as well just cut it. You might as well just put something else on your website. And these are insights that you can only get when you have a tool to actually show you these things. Otherwise, you're just speculating. You're just thinking, I think this might be better, instead of using concrete evidence like you would have in PageSense. Form analytics. Form analytics are huge. Everyone has forms on their website. One of the most common ways that businesses generate leads is through a form on their website. Maybe you have a contact form. There's another one that I just thought of. Now, what form analytics do is they show you how people are interacting with the forms on your website. They show you how people have started to fill out forms, if people are abandoning forms. We might be able to pull this one up on here. We'll go to the entire duration to load a little bit more data. And so what this is doing is working on the back end. We have this attached to a form on our website. So if I go to our demonstration website and I go to our contact page, we'll see this little form down here at the bottom. This is a lead generation form. This was built in Zoho Forms. It's being hosted on our website. Anytime someone fills this information out, their information is automatically moved into the CRM without us having to do any manual processes. That's another plug to another Zoho application. But within PageSense, we can also track how people are engaging with this form. So we can see how many visitors we've gotten to this form. We can see how many people have started it, so how many people have actually started putting information into the form. We can see how many people have filled out the form, and then how many people have eventually abandoned it. And what we're really looking at when we're looking at these form analytics is we're trying to strike a balance between what's called friction and abandons. So when you're trying to use forms on your website, you want to balance getting as much information as possible versus how much people are willing to give you before they stop filling out the form. So for example, as a business owner, you'd probably like to have a form on your website that people can fill out with their name, their email, all the times they're available, when they might want to have a demo with you, how much money they have to spend with you, if they have disposable income. If they don't, you won't interact with them. But you want to know all this information. But if you put a form on your website with 20 different fields, is anyone going to fill that out? No, probably not, right? No one's going to want to sit there for 10 minutes filling out all these fields. If you have a form that has a name, email, phone number, and then a social security number field, is anyone going to fill that out? Of course not. No one wants to willingly give up their social security number and their PIN number while they're at it, right? So what you'll see is when you go to the field metrics, and I'll use a different account for this. These fields are labeled weirdly because we're doing some really interesting integration stuff with this, but what you'll see when you go to the field metrics is, let's say you have a name, email, phone number field. You'll see the number of times that people have looked at that field. You'll see the number of times people have started to write something in that field. You'll see the number of times that people have started to write something, stopped, and then come back to it. If you see a lot of refocuses on a field, maybe you'll notice that this field is unclear, and maybe you can put a little bit of directions below it to let people know, here's the information I'm actually looking for. You'll see how many people have corrected it, so put some information and then backspaced and gone back and done it again. And then you'll see the amount of drop-offs. So in that example I just gave with the form that has phone, email, name, and then social security, you would probably see about 1 billion drop-offs on the social security field because people would fill in their information until they saw that field and they would drop off. So this is cueing you to say, do I really need the information in that field where everyone is dropping off of? If you do, then you'll have to keep it. But if not, get rid of that field. You'll get a lot more form submissions. You'll get a lot more leads generated from your site. And these are insights you can only make when you actually have field metrics from PageSense. This one I'm definitely not going to show in a demo, but a session recording. What a session recording is actually a recording of how someone goes onto your website. So this is almost like a little bit of a spooky feature. It's completely anonymous from the user's side, but what you can see is you can actually see their cursor on your website. You can see what they're doing, how they're clicking, the different elements that they're sliding over. And so what this helps you identify is usability issues. It's going to help you understand user behavior, see how they're actually perusing through your website. I'll go back to the beginning because that's where you can see their like mouse moving around and stuff. And then you can actually identify distracting content. So that's a big thing that happens on website development. Is there are some website developers who are really into aesthetics and cool creative things that they throw a lot of graphics up on the screen. But if that gets distracting to people, you're distracting people from the goals that you want them to achieve, like clicking a CTA. But you'd only know that once you've seen a session recording of people getting distracted by a certain element or looking at a different element for a long time. Funnel analysis. Funnel analyses are huge within PageSense and very important for you to implement if you want to optimize how people are moving through your site. So this is an example of a checkout funnel. Let's say we have an e-commerce shop and we have a product page with all of the different products that we're selling. Let's say we're selling sunglasses, and someone clicks on a specific sunglass. So here they are. We have 2,154 people who made it to the sunglass product details page, but only 1,319 of those 2,154 actually added the sunglass to their cart. So we see that there's a 38.77% drop off from the product detail page to the ad cart page. Now, what we'll want to do is start implementing some A/B tests, implement some personalization to try to get that number down so we don't have as many drop-offs. Maybe we need to have a longer description to espouse the values of these sunglasses, right? As we go further down this funnel, we're able to see that out of the 1,319 people who actually added the sunglass to the cart, only 690 actually checked out. So we have almost a 50% cart abandonment rate. And that's massive. Imagine if you're an e-commerce shop and 50% of the people who are getting to the cart aren't actually clicking purchase. You're losing out on a lot of revenue. And the only way to figure that out is when you look at a funnel analysis within PageSense. So what you'll see here, and something that you can enact, is if you have a lot of people falling off of your page right when they put something in the cart, maybe you can set up a pop-up to happen. If someone sits on that cart page for 20 seconds, you might think that they're thinking, oh man, is this worth it? Have a pop-up come up that says, hey, if you buy this now, this will ship a day earlier. If you buy this now, you'll get a free ebook or we'll offer you a discount. Just some way to give them a sense of urgency that they need to purchase this thing right now. Now, goal tracking. We talked about analyzing customer behavior with some of these different tools, like not customer behavior, user behavior with the heat maps and the scroll maps and the attention maps. What goal tracking does is that hones in on specific elements or links or CTAs on your site. So you're able to put in a goal on PageSense and track if people are clicking on one specific thing. So you're tracking maybe clicks on an element, you can track the amount of time that's spent on a page as well. And so you can see if these pages are good at doing what you want them to do. Now, we've talked about analyzing. There's a lot of different ways that we've analyzed these things, but once we've decoded the visitor behavior, now we need to start refining our website. We need to test things because that's the only way we can actually refine. You can look at these reports and then say, hey, okay, it looks like no one's clicking this element. Maybe we should change the UI of our website. But if we change it, we still don't know exactly if it's a better change or a worse change. We can think that it looks better, but the only way to test that it looks better is to use an A/B test or a split URL test. So are we all relatively familiar with the concept of A/B testing? I'm going to explain it anyways. An A/B test is testing two different variants of the same thing with just one change in between them. So an A/B test on a website could be having two pages, one that has a CTA button that's blue, one that has a CTA button that's orange. You'll have those both published on your site. They'll both go to a different subsection of your visitors, so they'll both run concurrently live, and then you'll figure out which color button converts more. And if it's the blue one, you can have that pushed to your site after a certain amount of time. Split URL testing is very similar to A/B testing, except with split URL testing, you're offering two entirely different things. So let's say you had a designer come in and design a whole new page for you. You can now have one version of your website that's live on the internet with the new page, one with the old page, have 50% of your visitors go to the new one, 50% to the old one, and you can track to see which one works better. And once you figure that out, that one can push live, and then you can do another split URL test to keep refining and consistently keep optimizing your website. So now we have talked about analyzing and decoding our visitor behavior. We've talked about some different ways that we can optimize, and we're going to talk about another one right here with some personalization. So according to McKinsey, 71% of consumers expect companies to deliver personalized interactions, and 76% of them get frustrated when this doesn't happen, when emails don't say, "Hey Tyler," or "Hey Jessica," or something like that. Does anyone get frustrated when this doesn't happen? I don't. I was surprised when I saw 76% because I don't think people are that generally getting upset when an email doesn't say their name, but apparently, according to McKinsey, they do. But not trying to undermine my point that I'm just about to make right here, but personalization is an important thing on a website. But you can do a lot more sophisticated things than just say, "Oh, hey, Tyler, thanks for coming back to the site." You can deliver personalized and engaging experience based on a variety of things, not just on people's name. So you can segment and target visitors based on their behavior, based on their location, etc. So a really simple personalization feature that you can set up is, let's say you're a company that operates in both the US and in Brazil. In Brazil, they speak Portuguese. So when someone comes to your website, you're going to want a Portuguese version of that website. And so what you're going to do is have specific personalization features that happen when someone comes from an IP address in Brazil so that they're receiving Portuguese language on your site. That could be something that's huge. If you have a lot of Brazilian customers going to your site and they keep getting English over and over again, that could be very frustrating. They won't be able to interact with your site in any way because they won't understand it. So that's a really simple way to personalize your website to these people. You can also segment people. So you can group visitors based on not just their location, but based on what channel they found you through. So if they found you through social media, you can display different content to them. If they found you through like an affiliate link, you can display different content to them. You can also display different content to them based on the device that they're on. So if you have certain elements that work better with Androids than with iOS, with Apple, you can have different things that are shown to these visitors. And then I just said location as well, but their behavior and their conversion history as well. Pop-ups. I mentioned smart pop-ups when I was talking about that abandoned cart example. Avinash actually just talked about pop-ups with marketing automation. So what you've probably seen throughout these last couple days is there's a lot of crossover features in a lot of different Zoho applications. So if you're trying to configure a pop-up, you can do that in multiple ways. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat with Zoho, and you can engage or you can enable smart pop-ups in Zoho PageSense as well. So if you have someone, you can have these triggered on a variety of things. If you have someone spending 30 seconds on your page, you can trigger a pop-up to happen. If you have someone in your cart and you can see that they're moving their mouse up to the X on the top, you can have a pop-up triggered when they move their mouse off the screen to say, wait, are you about to leave? Please don't, we'll give you something, right? You'd probably think of something much better than that, but that's what you can enable within Zoho PageSense. Now, what's new? You would have seen how the heat map looked on our website, and I would have also clicked on to see how it showed on a mobile version as well. But we're adding more mobile analytics, so you're able to see more in-depth analytics and reports based on how people are interacting with your mobile site. And then if you are an extremely technically proficient person and you enjoy coding and you're familiar with Deluge, which is our proprietary scripting language at Zoho, which is built off of Java, or you like Java, you can start to enable a lot of really advanced configurations. You can get into some advanced reporting and segmentation with PageSense as well. PageSense is integrated with a bunch of different Zoho applications. It's integrated with a bunch of third-party applications as well. And like I mentioned before, if you have a site that's not built on Zoho, you can still integrate PageSense with that site. And then we have a lot of different compliance certifications as well. So we're HIPAA compliant. You can see that up there. We're GDPR compliant as well. We have some more of these niche compliance requirements as well that we have. So just know, I'm sure you've heard this throughout the days, Zoho is very privacy and security conscious, and that extends to PageSense. PageSense allows you to decode your visitor behavior, see what they're actually doing on your site. Then you can go ahead and fix what isn't working, and then you can personalize things and learn what works and what doesn't on your website. So now what we're going to do is we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to go into Zoho Sales IQ. So we talked about how you can optimize your conversion rate on your website with PageSense. But now we want to talk about how you can engage your visitors live while they're on your website as well. So Zoho Sales IQ is a live chatbot that you can put at the bottom corner of your site. Actually, you could probably put it anywhere, but I would recommend not putting it dead center because people already get annoyed with the little pop-up, so you want to put it down in the corner. What PageSense allows you to do, or excuse me, Sales IQ allows you to do is it allows you to engage with your leads at the time they're most interested. So when they're on your website, they've chosen to go onto your website. That's when they're actually interested in your product or service. You want to capture that interest. You want to get them through your funnel as fast as possible. And that's what Sales IQ allows you to do. It allows you to proactively engage with these people before they've had a chance to get tired of your website or before they have had a chance to leave. With Sales IQ, you can offer live support and live sales on your website. You can also create AI chatbots if you'd like. So if you're someone who is a business owner and you're just the one person, or you just generally don't have enough people to allocate to being on the back end chatting with people live on your site, you can enable an answer bot. You can enable a Zobot. There's slight differences in these. I'll touch on those in a second. An answer bot takes the resources that you put in Sales IQ and spits them back out to people. So resources are like frequently asked question articles. They're knowledge-based articles from Zoho Desk. Zoho Desk is our customer support and ticketing tool. You can take the knowledge-based articles from Zoho Desk. Knowledge-based articles are typically like frequently asked questions, so that if someone goes onto your website and says, hey, do you guys offer shipping to X and X? You can have that put into your answer bot so that it automatically spits out the answers. So answer bot gives you a way to set up a bunch of canned responses. Now a Zobot is more complex. A Zobot is like an AI chatbot. So you can take this kind of as far as you want depending on your proficiency, but Zobot is with either coding or no code. If you want to use the no code builder, it's like a drag and drop service. Basically, you can drag and drop different responses that you want to have happen based off the visitor's behavior, or you can set up specific AI tools to integrate with this. So we integrate with Watson, we integrate with Microsoft Azure, and then we also use Zia, which is Zoho's artificial intelligence, so that people can engage with the Zobot in real time. And then if you want to mix these two together, you can make a hybrid chatbot. Okay, now we're going to risk it all here. This is going to be live chat on our example website. So I showed that example website earlier. If I could get people to maybe visit this site here, and then I'm going to chat with one of you live. I say risk it all because not everyone can be trusted in a live element to type things that are appropriate. And we'll see what happens. So, oh, geez Louise. Okay, so here is what it will look like. See, this is what always happens, and it's scary to see this. I would hate to be someone who's actually in business looking at that. I don't know how you would possibly do this. So this is what it would look like in Sales IQ if you were using it, right? So we have all of these concentric rings here. You can see these concentric rings. Everyone's on the outside right now, except for, I think this is me from earlier testing this. But what these rings are showing is how engaged someone is. And we can set the parameters for what these rings denote based on what we think the engagement means. So if we go up to the top here, we can set up different views. So right now, These rings are just denoting how long someone has spent on our website. So the longer someone spends on our website, the closer they get to that middle ring, and that means they're more interested. If you don't think time spent on a website denotes their interest, you can have it be based on how many visits they've had. You can have it based on past chats. So if they have come onto your website a bunch of times and they've chatted every time, they'll probably enter in beyond that middle ring. But what I want to do here is chat with one of you guys live now. So I'm going to pick someone in here. And this is what it looks like when you click on someone's little Sales IQ notification in your page. You can see that the chatbot has been triggered, not that we have proactively started the chat. We can see how long they're on our site. If they've had other chats before, we can see where they're coming from, what page they came to us from, and then we can even see their source. So if someone came to our website from a social media post, we'd be able to see that if we have that integrated with Zoho Social. If someone came to us from a different lead form somewhere else, we'd be able to see that on Zoho Social. So Robert, looks like Robert said, I need to move my scheduled appointment, and the chatbot said, sorry, I couldn't find any resource to your search because we don't have anything for that. Let me go back to someone else to see. Someone asked, this is what I was hoping for. Someone asked a question. They said, our chatbot said, sorry, I couldn't find anything. And this person said, oh, connect to an operator. So here I am the operator. And I don't know who this is, but hopefully it's someone in here. And I'll say, hey, how's it going? And whoever that is, please don't respond back. But if you can, type something in. Type something in, but then don't hit enter. This is the part that's difficult, but what will happen, and this is just kind of a warning to everyone who ever uses any of these chatbot features here. What happens when someone types something in is before they hit enter, we'll actually be able to see down here what they're typing. So if you're ever on like a support call or a support chat with AT&T or Xfinity or whatever internet service you have here, and you type in, hey man, I'm really upset right now, you guys are totally screwing me, and then you exit out and then type something else, the chat person saw that. They saw everything that you typed, and then they saw you go back on it, and then they saw you be polite, which I guess they should appreciate. But you can see everything even before it's entered. You'll be able to see. I'm glad that I didn't get a live person. I'm okay with that. But in Sales IQ, this is really just touching the surface. I'm just talking about live chat. You can also do live translation. So if you're chatting with someone from out of the States or who speaks a different language, you can do the live translation. I think it works with, it's like 50 different languages now. But there's a lot of different things that you can do with Sales IQ. Sales IQ is a really powerful tool. I just don't have time to show it all. So, in summation, with Sales IQ, you're connecting with your customers precisely when they're interested using this tool. Well, thank you all so much.